Okay guys, I know it's been a while since I've released a video. I've been pretty busy and it really can be kind of tough to keep up with making these videos, but basically for this video, we're going to be doing a head gasket on a 289 cat skid steer. As you'll see in the video here, we were getting compression into the coolant. I did warm the machine up, kind of went through it. Before we condemned the head gasket, I did pull the EGR cooler apart to check it out, and it was fine, so stay tuned. Okay guys, you can see there in our coolant overflow, we have compression being pushed into our cooling system, and this is where it's exiting. Okay, here we are here, just basically getting the rad stack, or the cooler pack ready to be pulled. Really not terrible to take out on these. I think it was 2 hydraulic lines and a like a K-strain hose on the fan motor. One little wiring harness, cut some zip ties. You have your, I guess your upper and lower rad hose, and a couple hydraulic lines, as there's a hydraulic cooler in there as well. Alright, so basically to remove the head on this engine, we had to end up pulling the exhaust manifold off, the fuel rail off, all the fuel lines off, going to the injectors from the rail, our EGR cooler. To pull the head off in the machine, I did leave the intake on and took it off after. It's just that was a little bit easier. We're going to remove some wiring harnesses, some clamps. So if you guys look here, you can see this valve cover is actually a little different. It's you know, usually the injector harness would be like inside the underneath the valve cover, but with this one, the glow plugs and injectors actually protrude through these seals in the valve cover. So when you remove this valve cover, you know, it's I was able to get it off and back on without disrupting the seals or anything, but it's definitely different. So this rail I'm removing here is the return fuel coming out of the injectors. So whatever is left over or extra would return through those lines. You see here I'm just marking the injectors. We'll just put them back in the same hole they came out of. Just pulling all the push rods in a way that you know, they're all know where they came out of each one, just in case anything was a little different. It really shouldn't be, but just good practice. So for removing the head here, basically anytime you remove a head, when you go to install one, you would start with the, you know, the center bolts and work your way out, torquing it down. And whenever you're removing one, you want to start from the outside bolts and work around until you're into the center. So I had a quick look at this gasket and I didn't see anything on the gasket that was really sticking out to be like, hey, this is where it blew. But I guess with these gaskets it can be a little difficult to see. Here's just a picture of the actual block itself, which you can kind of see there where some of the blowout was for sure. If you wait here, there's the head when it was pulled, which you can see there where the blowout was. Okay, so if you look right there, if you follow the that clean ring around where the head, you know, is going down there, you can see that little bit of black there, which is, you know, showing compression going into the coolant port there. There was a few spots on the head. Now this is the you know, took the head out to the machine shop, had it decked, cleaned. And tested for any cracks, which it had no cracks. This is getting back to the machine here. Again, this has been sitting for a little while, probably close to a week, with, you know, waiting for the machine shop and stuff and finding a time to get back to it. So for cleaning here, this is just, I have a little bit of emery cloth on a just a flat surface. And we're just kind of giving a rough clean with this to get some of the bigger kind of stuff off. And then after this, I take, it's actually like a grinder wheel, but it has like the Scotch-Brite almost stuff on it, and a little bit of WD-40. I like to kind of spray WD-40 down, and then I just scrub it down with that a few times. And then, you know, we'll clean it with brake clean, have a look. And, you know, I go over it a few times just to get it as clean as possible. Basically, like, if you could still see a little bit on there of something, like, you know, I don't always worry about that. You don't want anything that you want it as clean as you could possibly get it. Nothing that's going to catch, nothing that's going to lift. You want it a perfect surface, as close as you can get it, really. Which it should be basically a perfect surface. We know there's a new gasket there. We know the head's good, as it was at the machine shop. They did cut it nice and flat, just the way it needed to be. So, and then as we're putting the head bolts in here, we are lubing the threads up with some clean engine oil and the collars of the heads of the bolts. And we're basically not taking them all the way down, but just using this is just a 1/4 inch air ratchet, and just to bring them the majority of the way down, just to save some time, right? And then we finish bringing them down with the torque wrench. And for this particular head, it was like in 3 stages. So we torqued it to one spec from the center outwards, torqued it to the second spec from the center outwards, and then the third time, again, center outwards. And as you can see here, I'm just kind of marking each bolt as I've gone through it, just to say, hey, I've done this, and not trying to leave no room for mistakes. So this is just the last torque sequence here. And that's, we're just torquing the glow plugs down there. And then I'm just putting some clean oil down. There we are, putting all the push rods back in from the holes they came out of. And just again torquing into the spec, and then putting our injectors back in. And again, we got to torque those down as well. So I just had a little brass punch there, and I was just tapping the body of the injector just to make sure that it was kind of fully seated. As if you can see here, with I go over it with a ruler to make sure that all the injectors are the same height. Just because of where I was torquing them down, I believe maybe one stud was a little longer than a different one, the other one there, as it looked a little different. But the torque was achieved on all the nuts there, and all the injectors were sitting at the same height, so it was all fine. And then I just took the return line back on there, putting the intake back on. Again, I had pulled the intake off with the head originally, and decided to put it back on after the head was back in, as there was a sensor and I believe a fuel line at the rear of the head there that were just kind of real difficult to get to with the intake on. So, and again, I actually had some trouble with the exhaust manifold on this, as it uses studs and bolts to hold it on, and I had to remove the studs, and one was giving me trouble to be able to remove it from the DPF and get it out of the way, or else I would have had to try to loosen the DPF off and move it, which looked like a ton of extra work. I did actually end up damaging a stud, and had to replace it when we did the install. getting the valve cover back on here, which is a little tricky with all these seals for the you know, injectors and the glow plugs. And getting our fuel lines back on here. Throw some zip ties on, hold the injector harness in place. Just throwing the nuts onto the bar that's holding all the glow plugs together, joining it with power. There, I know you can't see it, but I'm just zip tying the harness where it's got to be before we try to stick this exhaust manifold back on. And then yeah, so for the turbo there, which is still attached to the exhaust manifold, we have to install the drain line to the block and the oil feed for the turbo to the block as well. There's also a cover that goes over the lines, kind of blocking heat from the exhaust manifold. And then yeah, all the bolts, studs, nuts, and new gasket for the exhaust manifold that to be installed. Here we're just throwing on a bracket that holds our rad hose. And yeah, here we are installing the brackets for the sensors for the emission system. And then this is our EGR cooler and valve here we're throwing back on. Again, this job is being done because we had the compression, or you know, we had excessive pressure being built in the radiator, which can come from an EGR cooler. Again, it was checked and it did look fine, visually inspected fine. A little bit of extended crank here as the rail builds up with fuel, as everything was kind of emptied out, right? So basically, I just come into the back here, checking for leaks, anything I think that could be leaking. Just double check coolant level while it's running. The rad cap is off right now. We will top up the coolant. And not in the video, but I do take it for quite a test drive. We get it up to temperature. I had it up to about 95 degrees Celsius, and I had held it there for about at least 10 minutes. And verified that we no longer had you know, excessive pressure building in the rad. Now I had a coolant pressure tester on this rad before, you know, when I was diagnosing this, and you know, you could see 7-10 psi be built in a rad, like, you know, but just sitting there idling, I think I was up to like 23 psi. Again, like I'm not even working the machine hard, so they definitely had excessive pressure. Um, and yeah, also one of the complaints was that you know, with the coolant overflow jug, um, it was not, when the machine cooled off, it was not pulling the coolant from the overflow jug back into the rad, and the rad was just kind of emptying itself, I guess. Which again was repaired after this. It was pulling from there again, and again we had no compression coming into our cooling system anymore, so the job was successful. And yeah. Okay guys, here's the video. This is the machine at 95 degrees while running, and again we have no compression being pushed into the cooling system. Okay guys, thanks for watching the video, and if you liked what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.